Hey everyone, this is Katie from Moonflower Moments. I wanted to share with y'all what is on my reading table right now. So this is just kind of a moment of my practice kind of video where I share the decks that I've been working with and why they're appealing to me right now. But I think that we're going to see some themes that come across because I really have been in like a particular mood, and I think that the decks reflect that. So I want to honor where I am right now with the decks that I have. I only have 2 weeks left until school starts. Sorry if you're a teacher and you cringe to hear me saying that. I apologize for making you feel icky. Enjoy those 2 weeks. You can be like me and ignore the calendar. But in this time, I really want to make sure that I'm spending quality time with my decks and I'm really resting as much as possible. So I'm going to share with y'all the decks that are meeting me where I am right now. So the first one that I want to share is no surprise if you've been on my channel before, so I'll be brief talking about it. But Slavic Legends has been on my reading table since I did my video about decks that have Empress energy. I mean, even with this High Priestess here, she still has these bundles of herbs around her, so there's a connection to the earth that you typically don't see with High Priestess. And so I think that this deck is meeting me where I am in my journey to caretake everything. Right now in the garden, I'm not doing anything much than besides weeding. You know, it's really too hot to plant anything. So I think that this deck meets me at that space because the artwork is so detailed. You know, it does remind me that the garden is in full bloom, but like there's not a lot of work left to do other than maintaining it. Like the garden has all of its details, all of the flowers open, just like this artwork is detailed and is fully present. So I like Slavic Legends. I am going away to my parents' house this weekend, and I think I am going to bring this deck when I go stay the night over there. It's been quite a few years since I've done that. And I'll probably take this deck outside in the yard with me to read under some of my childhood trees. So Slavic Legends is definitely meeting me where the vibes are at, where the mood is at right now. All right, we have Klimt here. I pulled this one out earlier this week, and I don't know, I think I read with it once since then. But I got Klimt last summer, and I had a massive love affair with it during that time. So to me, this does scream summer deck. You can see that there's some similarities between this deck and the previous one with the brighter colors and also the black borders. So I think right now I'm looking for something that is rooted in like a very heavy border. That's a theme in a couple of my decks because it makes it feel like the detailed artwork is anchored to something. Because everything is so hot, it's nice to have some sort of like container for the artwork, just like I would want like a container for the weather if I were to go outside. I hope that makes sense. That was a bit of a stretch of a metaphor, but it made sense to me, so hopefully I articulated it well. But I like this deck. It definitely reminds me of like the part of summer where not everything is quite making sense, when it's just so hot and you get a little bit dazed. So I've read with it one time since I pulled it out, but I think this one is going to stay on my reading table for a while. I'm not in a rush to get to it. Sometimes I feel an urge to work with a deck, and I'll do a short reading with it, and you know, I'm like, okay, I feel like I still need to work with you. So even though we haven't been reading together a lot, I think that I'm okay letting this one unfold and just sit there for a little while. It'll be there for me when I need it. And you know, the point of having like everything on the reading table is it makes it accessible. So I pretty much have all of my decks that are pretty accessible. They all sit underneath baskets, underneath my reading table. But I like having everything on top of the reading table just to make it a little bit easier. So carry on with that kind of dark border. What the hell is going on? It's so hot, I can hardly see straight kind of motif is going to be my Nola tarot cats. I just did some free readings on my Instagram with this deck. I do free readings on my story every Tuesday. And I'll leave the link in the description box below if you want to participate with that. And I used this deck, and it was a very strong reader for everyone. I like it. These cats are making me laugh right now, which is something that I need. I've been feeling a little bit sick for the last couple of days, which I guess is appropriate because it's better that I get sick before school starts than when school starts. I don't know. Planning for a sub is kind of a pain in the ass. At least that's what I say. So these cats have been making me laugh, and they've been adding a little bit of levity to my life. Like, what is going on with this cat squirrel? Like, I love this image. I love it. So it definitely is meeting me where I need it. And I can say it's one of the funniest decks that I have. So that brings to mind for me too, like, what are the decks that you consider to be really funny readers for you? I think Serpent and Peacock is one of them for me. And I think this deck is the other one that is just really funny. So Nola Tarot Cats. I'm going to go ahead and show Nola with my pair for it. And that would be my Faceted Garden Oracle. Y'all, if Nola Tarot Cats is like part of the vibe, the Faceted Garden is the whole damn vibe. So I love how these decks look together. I'm obsessed, absolutely obsessed with this match. So I've been reading with them a lot together. I use this Oracle deck, like I said, when I did the free readings as well. So I use this as a pair. But I like the Oracle because it's meeting me where I am in the garden. I know I probably sound like a broken record with that. But when I sit outside every morning and I pull core, you know, I ask myself, what is the core of the garden? And I can try to sift through the garden to kind of find where the core of the energy is, where the anchor point is for me to further develop it next year, or even just to honor it in the space where it is this year. And there is something really nice about just pulling cards that reflect your outward reality. So I think that these two decks are just a perfect little match for me right now. They're making me very happy. And because the Faceted Garden Oracle is a little bit more serious, it is offering a bit more of an anchor point to the Nola Tarot Cats when I want to work with it. But, you know, I need something a little bit more serious. So I've been enjoying this pair together. I've also been having a bit of a love affair with the Archetypes Oracle. I have mentioned before in previous videos that this is one that has almost left my collection, but then it stayed. And I think right now in this cycle that I am, there's a reason that I've kept this deck. And it just proves to me to like continue to be patient and recognize that the tools that I've bought, eventually there will be a season for them. So it's the season for now. I love the expansive energy of this Archetypes deck because I am starting a new chapter in just a couple of weeks. This deck is helping me cope with some of the bigger changes that are occurring. I think that this is a great deck to use to hold space for those large changes that are coming in your life. And every year before school starts, I usually do a tarot reading with my different sections of my class, and I pull a card for every single class that I teach and ask myself, what do they need from me? What is the overall collective energy that they're bringing in? And I think this year I'm going to do it with the Archetypes Oracle. And, you know, it's something that I use when I'm first getting to know them. And sometimes I can see the synchronicities, the matchups immediately, but it takes me a little while for other classes. But, you know, there's always a way in. But I think this deck would be good for that because when you're working with a collective type of energy in a whole group of students, I feel like big concepts such as the desert can really embody a lot of different personalities that are in that room and give you essentially an anchor point to get in. So I think that's just like a personal way that I read them. But if I pull cards for them, I think it could work. I think it could work. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a try in a couple of weeks. All right, guys, I've also been vibing with the funny little lizards, primarily because it has funny little lizards in the name. I mean, the title speaks for itself. But these lizards have been making me laugh. I've mentioned before in other videos that the guidebook is just truly, truly tremendous here. And we have all different types of green anoles in my garden right now. Sometimes we get some blue-tailed skinks too, or 5-line skinks. And I enjoy honoring them and appreciating them for the pest control that they offer. Because in South Louisiana, there are so many mosquitoes. It's always good if your garden is full of little lizards. So they've been reminding me, as lizards do, to bask in the sun, to let the sun's rays shine on my skin, and to remember that summer is temporary, right? Summer is fleeting because reptiles hibernate. And so it's essentially a moment of seize the moment and enjoy it now. I've been really enjoying seeing the same lizards pop up, because once they move into your yard, they pretty much stick around. So, you know, I check the same spots every day and I see little baby lizards because that's where they've decided that they want to live. Or I'll see a lizard that's missing half its tail. And you start to notice and see them as inhabitants of your world. So that was my little side note. Funny Little Lizards Tarot. I know it's an odd choice, but it is fitting the vibe right now and reminding me to honor points of view that are not only my own. All right, what else is the vibe? Of course, Under the Oak. Absolutely. This is always the vibe. I like these moody colors for summer. There's a depth to them that really does remind me of summer nights. But I've been enjoying this deck a lot because I've been studying with it. So I'm reading Finding the Fool right now by Meg Jones. I cannot say that I agree with probably 75% of what the author says, but I do think it's valuable for us to read tarot books that are based in different practices and beliefs than our own, so that way we can test our own beliefs and expand upon them. And I've been using this deck when working with that book because she deliberately didn't display any card imagery because she wanted you to be able to use her write-ups for essentially any deck. And I will say that because this deck is a little bit off the beaten path, like this Seven of Swords, for example, the owl is here underneath the gate to remind you to have caution moving forward. So it definitely fits within a Seven of Swords space, but some of the images aren't clear right away. So reading a book with this deck helps me to slow down and really get into the guidebook of this deck and just bond with it some more. So this has perpetually been on my reading table. It has not left since I got it in at the end of, I don't know when it was, maybe the middle of June? I think it's been here since about the middle of June. So 4 weeks on my reading table when I move decks in and out so frequently is pretty impressive. And I don't suspect that this one is going to go anywhere else anytime soon. It's a special deck. All right, and then we have Fifth Season. This deck has been a vibe since I've gotten it. I did put it away for a short time just because I got so many new decks in this summer, especially for my birthday and shopping some sales and yada, yada, yada. But it went away for about 3 weeks and then it just came back, and it's been here since the end of June. But I've taken this out on a lot of outings with me. So I've gotten into the habit of wanting to have a little everyday carry tarot on me. And my go-to used to be like White Sage and Enchanted Forest, but I'm starting to slip into wanting to bring this out with me. So I went to a play the other day and I brought this deck and pulled some cards before I went. It really is reflective of the communities that I participate in and the people that I'm around. And so I like having this deck as a sense of comfort, but also as the opportunity to see people around me that I know and that I love and that I cherish reflected back to me in the cards. So this is an incredibly powerful, potent reader, very cheap to get, very affordable. If you're thinking about it, not to be an enabler, but I am being an enabler, I think that this is an incredibly amazing deck. Like, look at that Eight of Cups. I mean, to walk away from 8 has to do with stability, right? Just like 4 does, but 8 is almost even more fixed in that sense. So the fact that we were walking away from a house that has caused us pain, that is essentially falling down around us, like our structures are falling down around us, and we are reaping the emotional aspects of that as we're walking out the door. That's something really beautiful for Eight of Cups. You know, it's not just a person or a relationship, but it's a structure that we're moving away from. So I love it. And look, we got our little tarot card reader for Queen of Cups. We love to see it. All right, next up is the one that is, if I have to pick my favorite deck that I got this summer, it would be this one. Faceted Garden Oracle is really taking precedent right now in my readings, but I think that this one is the one that I saw that I instantly connected with, and that is the Mystic Fairies Tarot. So I liked this deck, but I watched a walkthrough of it with my husband one day. He just happened to be home when it was on the TV, and he was like, you need this deck. He's like, this is completely and 1000% you. I've been bringing it out to the garden with me every single morning to do tarot readings. But the reason that I love this deck so much is because the suits tell a really clear story. And the guidebook is written by Barbara Moore. And so it has a lot of juicy, different ways of viewing the tarot that you don't expect. So I pulled out the Cup suit because I wanted to show you guys. Look how good this is. I never see anyone talking about this deck, but like if there's a tarot tuber who sees this deck and talks about this deck, like let me know. I want to subscribe to them. I want to be friends with them because anyone who loves this deck, I feel like we would just get along great. So we have the Two of Cups. It speaks for itself, right? We have this new relationship. Three of Cups, she's contemplating this relationship, hanging out with her girlfriends. Four of Cups, you know, perhaps they've had a fight, you know, that feeling that when you're sitting in your gut and you just feel like your relationship has gotten stagnant and you don't know where to go with that. Five of Cups, they've clearly broken up with each other. Six of Cups, she's reflecting back on her relationship with him. Seven of Cups, there's almost like a he loves me not flower situation going on here. It's like she's looking through this ball and trying to contemplate her next move. So there's a sense of like personal responsibility to the seven and like a crisis point to where she's developing that I really enjoy, but it's kind of internal, right? Which makes sense for the passive energy of the Cups. We have the Eight of Cups here, which she's leaving to go back to him. Okay, I do prefer a Nine of Cups that only has one person because to me it's a lot about personal satisfaction, but watch this. So she's personally satisfied to be back with him, and then they're together and they are holding up their flowers with the little bubbles and they're on equal footing. So I do see a difference, right? Like this one seems more like deeply internally satisfying and this one seems like all the rainbows and all of the joy externally expressed. But this is Mystic Fairies. All of the suits do that. And so I think it's a hella cool deck. Let me know if anyone ever talks about this one that you know of because I'm gushing, I'm having a moment. This is the it thing for me. All right, and then we're on the last little section. Now these two decks I keep together, so I'll show them together. And we have the Enchanted Blooms Oracle, which this deck I completely left off my Oracles video that I just did. I'll drop it in the description box below, but it was so sad because this is an amazing little deck and I forgot about it. Probably because it lives in the same bag as this deck. So we have Enchanted Blooms and we have Tarot of Light. The cardstock for both of these decks is the same cardstock. I believe that they're made by the same company because I have an older version of this deck. This deck has been reprinted and reproduced by a different publisher. I think it's US Games now, but I have the older one. I can't remember which publisher it is. But the cardstock for both of these decks is so similar. It's like this lush, like smooth matte that none of my other decks have. And so it's giving me a lot of comfort right now. I had a moment last weekend with a couple of friends of mine that I'm going to talk more about in my monthly reflections, but we essentially got together and we pulled some tarot cards before our hangout, before our visit, and I pulled from this deck the Judgment card, which I think was one of the ones that I first showed. And I did have a moment where I felt more spiritually aligned, more spiritually connected, felt like I was kind of one within the space that really reflected the Judgment energy and the way that I see it, especially how it's portrayed in this deck. But there's smoothness to this, there's comforting to this. I think that my mind probably knew that my body was getting a little bit sick, and so it reached for this, which is such a beautiful hug deck comparison. So I will say that I don't reach for Tarot of Light as much as I did when I first got it, but sometimes decks can sit on the shelves for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden there's an, oh my gosh, I need to have this deck right now, nothing else will do. And I'm really doing that right now, going back through my collection, working with decks that haven't gotten a lot of use in recent months, and falling in love with them all over again. So this is my powerful little pairing. It definitely reminds me of the good things of life. It reminds me of how important it is to maintain internal stability, and gives me a sense of tranquility. So that's it, guys. That's the last things that I wanted to show you. So I really appreciate y'all being here with me today. I felt the mood to make a video, and I thought, you know what, I really love the decks that are sitting next to me, so let's go ahead and show them off. So I would really appreciate it so much if you could let me know in the comments below, what are you reading with right now? So do you have certain vibes in your collection that you're attracted to? Are you reading decks that are super gardeny like mine? Or are you reading decks that are more reflective of the fiery energy that's coming in with the Leo season, or maybe the watery decks of Cancer? Let me know. I want to see what everyone's reading with. So I hope that all of you have a beautiful day, and thank y'all so much for being here. I'll see y'all next time.